I'll dwell upon a little bit on within the regulated schemes. I'll dwell a little bit on bank FD and company FD. A lot of people don't understand, or even if they understand, they forget the distinction when actually making the transaction. Now, term deposits, which is your fixed deposits for 11 months and 33 months and so on, with nationalized and large private banks, are completely safe. Okay, they earn low and taxable returns, but the principal is usually safe. I'm saying completely safe, not just usually safe. The reason is, in purely legalistic terms, if a bank goes bust, if tomorrow Canara Bank goes bust, you are likely to get only about 1 lakh under deposit protection scheme. But in practice, the Reserve Bank of India in the last 30-40 years has not allowed a single bank to go bust and depositors money not being returned. It hasn't happened. So for instance, Global Trust Bank was a private bank. RBI did not have direct responsibility. But when Global Trust Bank could not pay, or actually was bankrupt, it forced Oriental Bank of Commerce to buy Global Trust Banks. The depositors were safe. All right. So it's Oriental Bank and its shareholders took the hit. In the next few years, the profits were down. But the depositors of GTB were completely safe. I think we are still, and for many, many years, will continue to be in that situation where if it's a large scheduled bank, and I'm not saying this about cooperative banks. Cooperative banks is a different story. Reserve Bank does not take full responsibility of cooperative banks because they are under two different regulations. They are partly regulated by the RBI and partly regulated by the Registrar of Cooperative Societies. So RBI says, if you give us full responsibility, then only we're going to protect the depositors the way we informally do for scheduled banks. But if it is a scheduled bank, it can be a small bank or a large bank, it can be a new private sector bank or a road public sector bank, doesn't matter, your money is 100% safe, because RBI and Ministry of Finance will not allow bank depositors' money to go down. Company FDs are, as of now, even now, unsecured. Now, a few months from now, if I do this presentation, I may have to change this. The reason being, Companies Act of 2013. The Companies Act of 2013 has not made FDs secure the way bank FDs are, but has created such tremendous amount of responsibility on directors that they will think twice before raising money from the public and disappearing. For instance, now currently the Yash Birla Group is not able to pay fixed deposits. It may be a big group, part of the Birla Group, but it's not paying. And I don't see how they can pay, because they're not earning enough, right? They have too much of debts. If this is a situation under the new Companies Act, as and when the rules are noted, the Act is already notified, but the rules relating to all of these sections are not yet notified. When the rules are notified, it will be very, very difficult for a company, and the responsibility is placed on the directors directly. They can go to jail for deliberately withholding the money or knowingly not paying the depositor. So the responsibility levels have gone up. Earlier it was not so, and until the rules come, in fact, it is totally unsecured. So we keep getting mails from a lot of people, including senior citizens, saying, I've invested in this, I've put money in FD in this company, and they're not paying me back. Can you do something? Isn't there any way of redress? There is nothing, because they are unsecured. They are not secured against anything. This is the big difference between a bank FD and a corporate FD. Bank FD is fully secured, corporate FD is completely unsecured. And the difference sometimes when you are putting money in a corporate FD, if it's 1% more or 1.5% more than a bank FD, it is not enough, according to me, to justify moving from a bank deposit, moving from a bank and moving to a completely unsecured kind of situation where you invest money with a corporate. Now, usually the finance people will tell you that if the risk is higher, the return also should be higher. This is a fallacious statement. They said there's a big fallacy in this. This certainly does not mean if the risk is higher that the return ought to be higher. Nobody has given a God-gifted right to claim a higher return just because the risk is high. In fact, in real life, it's exactly the opposite is what we notice. If somebody is offering you, hearing this, somebody says, okay, I may be unsecured, but I'm compensating this with more than 4% return. Okay? Classic financial theory says that you compensate for the higher risk. So bank is fully safe, it's 9%. I'm unsafe, I'm giving you 13%. 4% more than bank FD or corporate equity is highly risky. The risk is not compensated, the risk has gone up because no company willingly is going to give you 3%, 4% more from what a bank is giving you unless the business itself is suspect. Unless the business is so shaky that he's not been able to make a share issue, he's not been able to make a debenture issue, he's not been able to borrow from the bank at a lower rate, and he has come to you with an unsecured deposit offer. And he has to pay you 14% because he has no other means of raising that money. So higher the return, higher the risk. Just because you've taken a higher risk doesn't mean you're entitled to higher return. In this case, it's exactly the opposite. The risk has just gone up tremendously because somebody has offered you a higher return. So in fact, rather than feeling good and going for it, the red flag should go up, saying that how the hell is he going to pay me this kind of a return, and why isn't he getting money from anywhere else? That's simple as that.